Okay, it looks like we are now visiting Emily Nash, who a pioneer woman who lived here in Geauga County in the early 1800s.
Hello, good evening, good evening. Yes, my name is Emily Nash, Patchen Hawkins Pike. And when I was 6 years old, I came here to Geauga County in 1813. And my, here it is, 1888 already. So many things that I've seen happen here in Geauga County. I've written many of them down here. I've kept a record of them. My little book gives me great comfort. I don't know that anybody else will ever understand or care about this, but I've kept many memories about Geauga County here. Many things that have happened to me, to my family, to my friends, and those around me. So much has happened. So many things have happened here in Burton and how it's changed. I remember when we came here in 1813. The first night we were here, we stayed by the tavern. I believe Mr. Finch owned the tavern then. We stayed by the watering trough, if I remember correctly, before we headed south to Troy, to where my father had his land claim. It was interesting how we even ended up with a land here in Burton because he had 3 land claims and the other 2 just didn't work out. But it was the piece of land that he had here in Geauga County that touched his heart. And that's why we ended up staying here. We had friends here, like the Beale family. Oh, they were wonderful people. They were good friends. They're all gone now. I do miss them. But life here in Burton was always interesting. I knew a great many people. I knew a great many who came and did so much for Burton. When we first came here, life was very, very hard. They told us it was a land flowing with milk and honey. Well, we found it was flowing with hard work first. But, we never really went without because Mother could weave and spin. So she was always able to find work. As a matter of fact, Mr. John Ford and Mr. Eliezer Hickok both had boys. And they needed lots of cloth for clothing for the boys. And so Mother and my sisters and I, we would do the spinning and the weaving. And then they paid us with whatever they had. I remember the time Mr. Ford gave us a cow and 12 sheep for payment of the work that we had done. So we always had plenty of provisions. I can remember also one time when a very small child was born here in town, only weighed 3 pounds. Oh, I wanted to see that baby so bad because I was very concerned about it. But it lived, and his name was Jonathan Brooks. Many people died here in Burton, many people that we came to know, but we were always sad to see them go. I remember one time when I came to Burton, well, Father made me finish my chores first before I could come to town because he was very strict about that, made sure I always did my chores. And there were lions and tigers and monkeys and all kinds of animals. Afterwards, after I saw the show, I got to go to a dance. Oh, that was so much fun to see that, see the animals and to attend the dance. But when I was 29 years old, life changed greatly for me. I had a paralytic shock that affects me to today because the entire one side of my body is still paralyzed. It was Dr. Erastus Goodwin who came and took care of me. He was such a wonderful doctor. He served the people here of Burton, good 50 years. When he died, how he's been missed so much since then because his services were so good. He was such a wonderful man. And then there was the death of the governor, Seabury Ford. He lived here in Burton, but he was governor of the entire state. He died way too young. He was only 53 years old, and I remember him well. I also remember all the young men who went off during the war of the year 1860s. It was a very difficult time. Way too many boys did not come back home again, and they are all missed by their families. Then there were people like Mrs. Sarah Welton, who lived to be 102 years old. My gracious. She was the mother of 10 children. She had 40 grandchildren and 56 great-grandchildren. That was such a large, large family. There were many people here in town that just had interesting things go on. They watched the town grow, watched the things change. I remember one incident, though, that one particular event didn't happen here in Burton, happened in Chardon, and that was the hanging. There hasn't been a hanging here in Geauga County since that one, and I hope there's never another one because, a lot of people will turn out to see a man die. It was over something very, very silly, very frivolous, but a man lost his life and another man had to pay for that. And a huge crowd gathered and they saw him hang. And then he went back, they took him back home and tried to revive him, but it didn't work. He was dead, and so they buried him. I remember when the floor dropped and the women just screamed and fainted. Oh, people will turn out to see a hanging. Yes, very interesting things. But, it's getting late. I want to spend some more time with my journal here this evening, my little book. I think I'm going to rest now.
And we know that on this cold February day in 1888, Emily, who was paralyzed on half of her body, could not get everything under cover and died by freezing to death.